Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard here this morning as we get set up to discuss some stuff following the Oilers beating the Blackhawks 4-3, a victory which was much needed given the fact that they were able to make ground on both the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights in the Pacific Division standings. That feels good. That's always a good time. And now we look forward to seeing what the Oilers can do with it. But today, let's talk about goaltending and maybe connect some dots as to why I continue to see value in discussing John Gibson. Of course, if you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button just to stay tuned with all things Edmonton Oilers as we transition throughout the trade deadline period. But again, for the Oilers here, friends, the reason why it is what it is with John Gibson is the Oilers' goaltending is not absolutely rock solid steady, right? Like the Oilers' goaltending is good. It's been solid this year in terms of a lot of departments and especially since the rough start. But the Oilers' goaltending could be better. And not to say that John Gibson is the end all be all, the best goaltender available, or whatever the case might be, because the best goaltender available you won't know about until he's either won the cup with the team or whatever the case might be. But for the Oilers here, is a goaltending tandem of Stu Skinner and Cal Pickard is not necessarily going to thrill a lot of fans when it comes time for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know there's a lot that will be thrilled and there will be a lot that aren't thrilled with just standing pat with the goaltending. And everybody will sit here and say John Gibson is over the hill, he's seen his best days, whatever. John Gibson has played on an absolutely bottom feeder Anaheim Ducks team. If we are making, as Edmonton Oilers defensemen out here, Mr. Stu Skinner and Cal Pickard look as good as they are, despite everybody saying how terrible they are, then, well, guess what? We will make John Gibson look as good as Connor Hellebuck. I almost guarantee that, given the fact that for the Oilers, like I said, you have half the fan base that wants to chase Stuart Skinner to the sun, and you have the other half of the fan base that just is very indifferent on Cal Pickard because, again, he's just nothing more than a backup goaltender at this point of his career, so why get up in arms? But what I will tell you here is that all that kind of misses the point. And the point is, for the Oilers, they have to do something about their young netminder in Bakersfield here at some point this season. And whether it be, call up Ollie Rodrigue for a game like I mentioned in the live stream last night against the Vancouver Canucks next Saturday, and you just kind of spot start him for a little bit, or whatever you do, whether you trade Cal Pickard in a deal for John Gibson and ultimately then have a three-headed goaltender monster just to allow Rodrigue some time so as you don't have to put him on waivers, because I do believe he's waivers eligible, but I'll have to double check that and get back to you. But yeah, there's a lot here for the Oilers where they have to be careful with how they manage the goaltending coming forward. They've developed Rodrigue. He is having an absolute lights-out year in Bakersfield this year, and now is the season, and it's been the season all season long, that Rodrigue should be getting his first looks at the NHL level. Again, we've done this a few years back with Stu Skinner, so we should be doing this with Ollie Rodrigue here sometime in the back half of this season. And yeah, I guess you can say the last 2-3 games of the year, that's what everyone's going to default to. But again, I think it is time to give them some meaningful games, see what you got, and figure out where you're going with the future of the goaltending. Because Cal Pickard, he's not going to be around forever. Stu Skinner is going to be very, very expensive very quickly here. In comparison to his 2.6 that he's making right now. So you got to figure that it's going to be hard times in the Oilers' crease in terms of figuring out how to put together a piece where Stu Skinner's making the majority and somebody else is making a little bit, and Pickard's around, I think, for another year after this, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I double check that right now as I go, but you kind of get where I'm going with that for the Oilers. Is it's definitely a situation where you got to take care of the crease. And yeah, so Pickard expires 2026. He's $1 million cap hit, but for the Oilers it's not going to be straight, easy, good to go, especially as Pickard gets older and especially as fans grow tired if something happens in these playoffs and want to change increase. So that's where I think you ride Rodrigue for, not necessarily ride him, but you get him up here for a few games and you kind of allow him to get into some time. And the Oilers have the ability, right? I mean, I don't know what's going on with cap space right now. That's another whole question in Oilers land following the Evander Kane announcement this week. But for the Oilers is they have the ability to carry an extra player, so why not carry Rodrigue? Allow him some time. There's some guys down in the farm system there for the Oilers that could use some time in net in Bakersfield as well, just to kind of start getting their feet wet at the AHL level. And for the Oilers, see what happens here, right? See what happens for Rodrigue. At least get some feedback at the NHL level. He's a smaller netminder, so there might be some different feedback that he'll get versus maybe a Stuart Skinner. And, end up just continue to build your pipeline. And then if you're not satisfied with what you've got in net, again, right, is Rodrigue a solid number 3 option to be backing up Pickard or Stu if one of those two go down in the playoffs? I don't know. You don't know. He's never played an NHL game. And then ultimately you ask the question of, do we have to upgrade in net and go out and chase John Gibson? Because I'm going to tell you, for quality of goaltender versus cost, Anaheim Ducks fans might have their heads in the clouds here, but I will tell you, you are not going to get a cheaper, better goaltender than you will in John Gibson here at the NHL Trade Deadline if you are the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, yes, Anaheim has to agree to trading him, all that, I get it. But again, when it comes to the quality, the resume, all that, John Gibson is going to be the best bang for your buck at NHL Trade Deadline time if you are the Edmonton Oilers. And yeah, those last couple years on the contract might suck to stomach, but I know what I'm saying with the contract situation. Again, that likely ends up getting traded again. I think the end goal is John Gibson just wants to win. I think that was the same idea with Cam Fowler, and the Ducks are all open to allowing their guys to do that. And there is no better place to win right now if you're an elite goaltender at the NHL level, and whether you like it or not, John Gibson is part of the upper echelon still. I don't care what you think. He has not really done anything outside of being on a terrible Anaheim Ducks team to earn not his status that he's had. So basically you go out there, you win a Stanley Cup with the Edmonton Oilers, whether you sit on the bench or whether you backstop them to it. I don't really care if you're John Gibson, but you're a part of it. You win a Stanley Cup, you move on. The Oilers trade you out of town, get some assets for you. Again, the Oilers might very well lose out on the deal, but winning a Stanley Cup has to account for something, right? If you trade, a few picks or a prospect and a pick or Pickard and something for John Gibson, and then you end up having to trade him out for just a 3rd round pick or something. A Stanley Cup is worth much more to me at the end of the day in the Connor McDavid era than losing out on a couple of picks. So that's been the MO for a long while now, and we'll see what happens. But again, step one to any trade for a goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers must be giving Ollie Rodrigue some time in the net at the NHL level, see what we've got, because you very well don't need to upgrade if Ollie Rodrigue is going to come in and steal the show at the NHL level and allow you to have certainty 1 through 3 in the goaltending department at the NHL level. Friends, for right now though, I'm going to get on up out of here, get on with my Sunday. Have a great day. I'm up on gone.